Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Lauren Grimes, and I'm the founder of the Community Enrichment Project, a youth civic engagement nonprofit based in the United States. Part of our mission at CEP is to uplift youth voices and encourage youth to be agents of change. We are honored to be hosting this International Youth Panel in partnership with the UN75 as we celebrate the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. Today's event is part two, of our multi-day youth panel. Joining me today are youth activists and advocates from various countries who are doing amazing work to advance UN Sustainable Development Goals in their various countries. So on behalf of CEP and UN75, I would like to thank all of our esteemed panelists for joining us today. And I also like to thank all of you in the audience for joining us as well. We're going to be posing a series of questions to our speakers so that they can share more about the work that they're doing and the different projects that they're working on. If you have any specific questions for them as well, feel free to drop them in the chat on our live streamed YouTube channel. So without further ado, I'd like to start the session off by just having each of our panelists introduce themselves. So we can start with you, Mads. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Madhura, but I usually go by Mads. I'm coming from Australia. So before I continue, I'd like to pay respects to the Darug people, who are the traditional custodians of the land which I am currently streaming to you from. But yeah, I am a youth activist at Plan International Australia, and our work is generally to advocate for gender equality. And this takes many different forms, as myself and my fellow youth activists will be telling you about later in the broadcast.
Thank you. Next, we will have Varsha.
Hi, everyone. My name's Varsha, and I'm from Plan as well. We're a youth activist group, and I am focused in my advocacy in disability and in reducing general inequalities. We're currently working on gender and for girls and young women in Australia as well. That's kind of a brief rundown.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll have Patsy.
Hi, I'm Patsy, and I'd also like to pay respects to the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional owners of the land that I'm currently on. So I'm also from Australia. I'm a climate activist, and I'm part of Fridays for Future and Polluters Out. And so, yeah, that's probably enough for now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we'll have Kanan. Okay.
Thank you for inviting to speak today. I am delighted to be here representing Indonesia and to be given this opportunity to address the important issue of digital transformation, its impact on Indonesia local communities, and also how the private sector here cooperates with various stakeholders in order to achieve transformational change within grassroots level. I would like to thank the Community Enrichment Project for their work and Lauren, especially for hosting the UN75 event today. I am Kinanti Danastri, or you may call me Kinan, previously serving as a community relations specialist and now currently managing strategic partnership for Niaga Hostel Indonesia, an IT company based in Yogyakarta. I hold a degree in Bachelor of Social Sciences and Communication from Atmajaya Yogyakarta University. So it is safe to say that I am a generalist in a specific field, but I have a keen interest in human intelligence as well. Looking forward for today's discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we'll have Nancy.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me. First of all, I would like to thank the Community Enrichment Project and UN75 for organizing this event. My name is Nancy Ngom from Uganda. I'm a law graduate, SRHR trainer and youth activist, actively engaging in civic participation, former ICS volunteer with Restless Development, and currently I'm on the Youth Compact Champions program, which is supporting 20 young leaders from different countries. I'll tell you more about it later on. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Bella.
Yep. Hi, my name is Bella. I'm 14 and I'm also from Australia. I would like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I'm on, which is the Wadandi Noongar people, and pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. I am a young author, environmental presenter and climate activist, and I'm the author and presenter of my book, Bella's Challenge.
Thank you. And we'll have Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm currently on Darkinjung land in Australia, and I'm a youth activist as well as Mads and Varsha from Plan International Australia, and really been focusing on building a better normal with youth voices included in that.
Very nice. Thanks to each and every one of you for introducing yourself. I'm just going to go into the first question. So we know that the UN is celebrating its 75th anniversary. In 25 years, the UN will be celebrating their 100th anniversary. So my first question to you is, what would the ideal world look like within the next 25 years? What would that look like to you? So we can just start with you, Mads.
Okay. I thought this is a really interesting question, but yeah, I mean, in the next 25 years, I think really the ideal world would be somewhere where people's safety and respect is really prioritized, and people can be free to be who they are and, you know, seek education and live the life that they would like to without, you know, feeling disillusioned or beat down by the world, which I think happens in today's world, and people in marginalized positions feel less hopeless. I think, yeah, that's the kind of positive world I would hope we have in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we can take Varsha.
I guess the type of world I'd want to see in 25 years is one that is accessible and equal, and I think completely as a whole just enjoyable for the people and the young people who are in the world. I think that we have a lot of talk about how things are equal, but this is quite sensible. So just the fact that we all can have opportunities and I suppose a voice for the way we live and how that occurs, and change on a really systemic way would be really ideal in how we tackle all of the issues that we face as young people.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we'll take Patsy.
Yeah, so I guess for me, an ideal world in 25 years absolutely requires climate action. It requires policymakers, media, basically anyone in position of power to listen to what scientists have been telling us for decades, and to treat the climate crisis like the crisis that it is. And if that action is taken and climate justice is achieved, I think we can have a truly sustainable world, a healthy world, an equal world. But right now, that's not something that's happening. But hopefully in 25 years, we have a world where we're living sustainably with the natural world and not actively destroying it like we are. And hopefully we can have equality where we're not exploiting ecosystems and other people in a sort of mindless way as though there's no tomorrow.
Thank you. Kanan?
Okay. this is quite a visionary question. So, in my personal opinion, I projected a world would look like in 25 years, in which women and men share equally in enjoyment of basic capabilities, economic assets, voice, and freedom from fear and violence. Also, the responsibility for paid employment and the joys of leisure. Um, in these 25 years, the resources now used for war and destruction are invested in human development and well-being. Um, Institutions and decision-making process are open and democratic. Above all, human beings treat each other with respect and dignity. I also projected that technology has improved. Until recently, big data analytics primarily benefit global enterprises who could afford the investment in powerful IT infrastructure and an army of data analysts. As modern cloth has become commonplace and affordable, business intelligence solutions are now easily accessible for the small and medium enterprises. The main value that big data brings to the table is improved customer experience, and also close analysis of consumer insights delivers a full understanding of buying behaviors. With the depth of real-time knowledge, small, medium enterprises can make better, more informed business decisions and nimbly adjust their product offering. Also, small business owners no longer have to make decisions based on their gut feeling and assumptions alone, which is emphasizing in the goal 8 of SDGs. And I'd like also to address flexible working culture. Flexible working culture I think gives businesses access to a diverse talent pool, delivers greater coverage and flexibility, and minimizes labor costs across all departments. And digital technology helps small and medium enterprise owners to grasp these opportunities as well. It brings employees together by facilitating communication while keeping teams connected and involved. That's what actually we are working on through our development program to objectifying the notion of decent work and social justice.
Thank you. Next we'll have
Yeah.
Nancy.
So, thank you so much. Actually, I also believe that in the next 25 years, technology is going to be the driver for social change, as we can all witness that it's already happening. But my ideal world in 25 years to come, I would like to see a world where everyone considers period as normal and every single girl child have access to sanitary pads, something that is not yet happening at the moment. And I want a world where women are respected and there's equality for all, regardless of race, sex, gender, sexual orientation, among others. Equality is very important. Also, a world where there's less crime, like at the moment, there's police brutality, political violence in almost all African countries. So that's not my ideal world. Thank you so much, Lauren.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Next we'll have Bella.
I think an ideal world in 25 years would be where our leaders act like leaders and where kids can, act like kids and don't have to act like we're leading. Because right now the entire world is acting like the kids are the leaders and the leaders are the kids. Our leaders are so dollar focused right now, and that they forget about us as the people, and they're so focused on the profit. So I think in the future that would be something that's flipped, and they're thinking about the people and not the profits. Not only that, but making sure that our leaders are thinking not about the next election, but about future generations, or future thinking forward about what's going to happen in the future. And where, in a world where we live in a world where trees are worth more alive than they are dead, because that's what's happening now.
Thank you. And Elizabeth?
Yeah, I think kind of not contrary to what Bella just said, but I think where youth are in decision-making spaces, but in ways that are sustainable. They're not tokenized, because at the moment it's like, oh wow, look at Greta doing these amazing things, or Malala. And you have youth in so many spaces that are doing such amazing things, but we kind of lift these kids up on a pedestal and expect them to do the work, when they can be integrated meaningfully in organisations at local community levels, or through, so from like the micro communities through to the national. And I think having youth in decision-making spaces is really important, because our future that we're planning for, you can't expect to meaningfully represent us unless we're in the decision-making spaces.
All good points. Thank you all. So with this next question, I wanted to ask you to talk a little bit more about the specific work that you're doing in your country, and maybe if you even care to mention some of the partnerships that you kind of have. And my follow-up question will be about any challenges that you're currently experiencing. So can you tell us a little bit about your work and what challenges are you facing? And yes, we can start with you, Matt.
So like I said before, we do work focusing on gender equality. So most recently, the work that I've been doing with Plan was on International Day of the Girl earlier this month, because Plan International released a report which highlighted some staggering figures about how around 50% of girls and young women have been abused or harassed online. And like some of the panelists said before, the online space is something that is really growing. And it's kind of become another facet of gendered violence. And the issue of gendered violence is something that I'm personally very passionate about. And, you know, being online, this disproportionately affects youth. And so it was really important to have discussions about this issue. So we engaged, or I personally engaged with some of the media outlets that we have in Australia, and wrote, you know, an article, and kind of this culminated in engaging with Instagram themselves and social media outlets in order to talk about how we can make these online spaces safer for girls and young women. So in terms of some of the struggles with that, I think it's just mainly, you know, being taken seriously as a young person. And like Elizabeth was saying before, like, instead of just being tokenistic and people making empty promises, I think it was just, you know, people in power taking us seriously, I think is the biggest issue that we have. But you know, it's really important to kind of highlight the necessity of listening to us in all our diverse forms in order to create real change. Yeah.
Thank you. Next, we can have Varsha. So if you could tell us again a little bit about your work and any of the difficulties or challenges you're experiencing.
For sure. So I currently work in sort of the disability sort of as a general, in terms of the advocacy that I do. So with Plan, we focus a lot on gender equality for young women and girls, as Mads said. And of course, when you're talking about something so intrinsic such as gender, you do have to think about it intersectionally, and you do have to really bring in all forms of identity when you're creating empirical data, and you're taking that to people who are in power, and they have to create the decisions. You do have to humanize the issues that we face and really bring it to for them to believe it's a real thing. Unfortunately, that is one of the biggest challenges there, is that people in high positions don't really believe, or they don't really care as much as we do about things that are affecting us. I also work with the Foundation of Young Australians and working on my own initiatives about speech impediments and communication disabilities in our educational world. I find that the largest challenge there is that it's kind of a gray space. It's not completely a physical or debilitating disability, but I can't talk in class, which is quite an important part of education. So it's working with the establishment on really how to create more access to how education is provided. Yeah, I think that's the general. Yep, that's it.
Thank you. Okay, Patsy.
Yeah, so I mostly work with Fridays for Future, which is it's an international youth climate movement, and every Friday all over the world, young people go on a strike to outside like a Parliament House or Town Hall. I do mine at Sydney Town Hall. And we're trying to raise awareness to the public for what this current situation with the climate crisis is. And hopefully people who become aware of our strikes, they take action themselves to educate themselves around the issue, put pressure on their politicians, on their council, and hopefully informs their voting decisions around climate policy. And I've also worked with Polluters Out, which is an international youth climate coalition that really focuses on the fossil fuel industry because they're the major contributors of climate crisis. And our main goal is to remove fossil fuel industry from spheres of influence. So, banks, universities, and in particular climate talks, such as the COP climate talks, because they're actively stalling climate action because it's in their interests to make profit. And so we're trying to remove them from those talks so that real change can happen. And I would say the biggest challenges in the climate space are getting policymakers and politicians to take the issue seriously. And we have a serious issue with empty promises and really distant targets that they have no interest in actually meeting, and issues with greenwashing. So I guess having policies that we can actually trust that they will go through with, and believing that politicians are serious about making change is probably the biggest challenge for us.
Thank you for that, Patsy. Next, we can go over to Kanan.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. So as I mentioned before, we are stressing our issue and digital transformation. I do believe that responsible business and investment root in universal principles. And this will be essential to achieving transformational change through the SDGs. For instance, a company's successful implementation will strengthen the enabling environment for doing business and building markets around the world. As you know, the United Nations member states recognize that the private sector plays a pivotal role in each country's contribution to global goals. And this is actually what my company does and realizes about. As I said before, I am currently serving as a strategic partnership specialist, which is responsible to engage not only beneficial stakeholders, but also build a concrete foundation in local communities in order to reach what we may say as digital prosperity. This nationwide campaign embodied in our corporate social responsibility initiatives. We have for prominent development programs such as SMK or vocational school coding, job coding, WP Procourse and Atalaso Digital, or Digital Storefront in English, which are targeting various levels of society in Indonesia. If you heard the name, it may ring the bell that we are preparing the Indonesian next generation to be more resilient towards the inevitable digital transformation. For example, I'd like to use my experience for the Jongkoding program, which took place in Madura Island, eastern part of Java, the most dense island in Indonesia. Let me give you a little bit of background of Madura Island in general. So, the symbolic image of Madura people is associated with violence, which is related to the infertile and desolate dry field ecosystem, which is not productive for paddy husbandry. Um, it is a context that is worsened, the very limited rainfall that negatively affects the harvest. Moreover, Madura people had in time become used to experiencing failure in establishing their self-reliant government. And this further the idea of a self-governing violence system with the government institution is playing a minimal and if no role at all. And also, additionally, the Madura people were always under the shadow of Japanese domination. Fortunately, the central government under Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono administration realized this matter. Following the construction of Suramadu Bridge connecting the East Java capital of Surabaya to Madura Island, the government is now offering development projects on Madura part as this is an ambitious part to turn the island into a new growth center. So back to my story, in 2019, the Indonesian Ministry of Communication and Information asked me to manage a joint capacity building program named Jongkoding, as I mentioned before. This program intends to foster digital talent in Indonesia's remote areas. And I was posted in Kwanyar, Madura Island, for almost 2 months. And unsurprisingly, the subject community had been exposed to radicalization and rejected the initiative at the first time. So, as the head of representation of central government, I met their religious figure and had in-depth conversation about this program. After the discussion, the local community began to put attention and being assertive. By the end of the program, 52 young people graduated with hard skills such as web development, social search engine optimization, and also digital literacy. So through this program, they disengaged from radicalization activities and began focusing on meaningful jobs such as providing web developing services to Greater Madura Island area. So I think the difficulties that I faced before is just about communication between the central government and also in the local communities. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you. Absolutely. Elizabeth, did you want to go next?
Sorry, did you say my name? It was a bit far away. That's okay.
Would you like to go?
Yeah, I can go. I think I work in kind of a couple of different sectors. In period poverty in Australia, we saw with COVID-19 and the panic buying that their products were stripped off the shelves. Women didn't have access to shelters or donation resources, which was detrimental to those living on the poverty line or experiencing homelessness. So I do a bit of work in that, but with the other girls from Plan, we've been doing co-authoring a Better Normal report, which is where girls call for a revolutionary reset. And that was recently presented at the United Nations General Assembly in September, which is fantastic. And it's kind of one of the positive things to come out of COVID, even though it's showing the cracks that happen in the system. It's a weird one that wouldn't have happened without COVID, but also we kind of wish it didn't happen, but glad that it did. One of those awkward ones. And that's been really fantastic. And we've had power holders kind of get on board. But then you speak at amazing panels like this, and then those in the audience think, you know, listening is enough. And it's not enough to just turn up and listen to panels. With young people, you need to meaningfully engage them. You need to read these reports. You need to implement the changes that we've mapped it all out for you. There's no sort of interpretation that needs to actually happen. We have recommendations on education, on equality and inclusion of power, on gender equality, on climate change. We've kind of covered the whole sphere of things. But it's actually getting power holders on board and committing to changes, which is kind of not the hard part. It's just a part that's in progress at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have William joining us. William, would you like to take a second to introduce yourself to the audience? And the question that we're asking right now is, what kind of work are you doing and what challenges do you see with the work and the projects that you're focused on right now?
Okay, can you hear me? Is it all right?
Yes.
Yes, you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much. And thanks again for this opportunity. Well, I'm introducing myself. My name is William Colmenares. I'm sorry for being late, but here in my country, Venezuela, in Latin America, there has been, over the several years, many problems with everything that's related to connectivity. So recently, I just had a little problem with the electricity, but thanks God, it's back right now. So I'm able to connect and to share this amazing experience with all of you. Well, to assess the question, I'm going to talk a little bit about how, in my experience, I have worked with my community and how we have achieved the enrichment of this community. But before talking about this, I would like to explain a little bit about the context of our country. Right now, Venezuela is passing through a humanitarian crisis that has made everything a little bit more difficult when we're talking about making the community believe in the power that they have. This situation that has affected all of us right now has made the people believe that everything that they can do will not have a successful impact in the life of the society. And part of what we have been doing is trying to change this, trying to show people that everything that they do, even if it's a little thing, can have a big impact in their environment. Well, right now I'm working in an organization that is called Rotaract. It belongs to Rotary International. I don't know if you have heard of it, but it's an organization that's worldwide, and it's grouping groups of people, of young people that are willing to do things in their communities to make a change. Today, particularly, we're celebrating the World Day Against Polio. And it's one of the illnesses that has been almost eradicated all around the world, and it's something that we have made together. Particularly here in my community in Venezuela, the main work that we have done is with children, because we believe that children are the future, and if we invest in education, we are able to harvest a better future for this country and for the whole world. So this is what we have been doing through all the years that have passed is related to education. We have built several libraries, yes, in schools, but low resources schools in which the students do not have the means and do not have the opportunities to access a good way of education. So right now, the last thing that we have done is building several libraries in which they can have access to some books that will not only be useful for their studies, but they will also be really interesting for opening their minds and showing them that there is much more than what they can see. And it's something that's really important for us in this organization in Rotary International. And we aim to let know people that the world is something much bigger, and if we can achieve to build these bridges between countries, between nations and nationalities, we are one step closer to finding peace. That is one of the objectives that we share. Another of the things that I do in order to have a better society and to enrich my community, I do it through I'm a student, a medicine student, and I'm the president of the student board of my university. So right now, over the last years, we have made many different these things, we can call them humanitarian camps, that are some activities in which we organize with our community. We work alongside doctors, nurses, dentists that are from the university, and we go to some communities that are in dangerous situation because of the poverty and the economical crisis that they have. So we organize this kind of camps in which we give medical consultation, we give them medicine, and we work alongside with several organizations that help us be able to give people with the things that they need to have a better health. And one of the main projects we're working in this with the medicine student board is aiming to the situation that's related to the waters in Venezuela, and particularly in my state, my region, that is called Carabobo. We have a really big problem with water that arrives in houses. The water is deeply polluted, so it's the source of many illnesses that are attacking our people. So what we are trying to do right now, even if we cannot solve the structural problem that is making this happen, what we can do is to give people the different things that they need to know. First, to have the knowledge to access that if they know that the water is polluted and is bad for their health, they're going to find the means to do something to make it cleaner. And we're first educating, and then we're giving them the different things that they will need in order to make this water more safe, more secure to consume. So, well, that's a little bit of what we have done in here in Venezuela. There are many people that are working for having better conditions. I am doing it in these two ways, with the medicine school at my university and with Rotary International. These are the two main activities that I do for my environment and for my community. And in both, one of the that is really important for us is letting people know that what they do has an impact in their community, and that even if it's something that you could believe that is something that is little, it's going to have a big impact, and it's going to have a big
I think we may have lost William. I'm going to move on to another speaker, and he'll rejoin us. Let's see, Nancy, can we have you share a little bit?
Yes. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, that I've been actively engaged in civic participation. So earlier this year, I started implementing a change project on menstrual hygiene management, engaging young girls and boys in primary school. I realized that period-induced absenteeism was quite common at the rate of 20% during period days as compared to the 7% on non-period days. So I decided to act, and I was also forming clubs in schools to introduce the pupils to the aspect of social accountability and human rights, because I realized that most young girls are not aware of their rights, especially the right to education, and yet education is quite important as it prevents even the girls from getting pregnant at a young age. As I speak now, the rate of teenage pregnancy in Uganda has escalated because of the lockdown. Last year, it was at 25%, but as I speak now, since the schools were locked in March, around 2,000 girls got pregnant, which is quite upsetting. So yeah, I decided to act in that area, and I
Thank you.
was introducing them. Sorry, I'm still. Oh yeah, it's okay. I decided to introduce them to menstrual hygiene, and I was also training them how to make sanitary pads. I also mentioned that I'm a youth compact champion, and as part of that program, they are coordinating 20 young leaders from different countries to engage in the work of compact for young people in humanitarian action. In other words, they are making the voices for the youth heard in programs that affect them and projects that involve the youth. Our main success has been co-designing the youth plan, where we were able to receive over 800 applications from 44 countries. But the main challenge that we have right now is funding. Yeah, we are requesting for more funding from organizations, individuals who would like to be part of the Youth Compact Champions program. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's see, we can take Bella next.
Yep. So I do lots of different work. I have my book, Bella's Challenge, which addresses all of the 17 UN global goals, which is designed. The book was designed to educate specifically kids about the global goals and break them down for them to use. And so that they can make changes in their community and in their household. I have presented my book to over 7,000 students and over 7,000 adults around Australia and around the world. All the proceeds from my book I give to other projects that are happening that will help the global goals, like homeless workers that have been put in my local community for global goal number 11. And I'm also one of the students organisers for the school strike for climates that happen here in Australia, and one of the 8 litigants suing the Australian Minister for Environment for a lack of duty of care for the Vickery coal mine that's just trying to put in here.
Thank you. And were there any challenges to the work that you're doing that you might want to share, or any dilemmas that you've run into?
I think the biggest one would be my age. People don't take me seriously because I'm so young. And that's a bit of it's an issue sometimes when I'm saying, I'm 14, like, oh no, we're looking for someone older or something like that. I think that's the biggest issue. But I go anyway, and I turn up and I give my opinion, which is really good, and share what I have to say, really.
Good for you. I'm glad you just keep pushing. That's wonderful. So the next question I wanted to pose to the group is about support. So in order for you to advance the work that you're doing right now and to actually meet the short and longer term goals that you have for your different projects, what kind of support do you need on the local, national, and even global level? What does that look like for you? So we can start with Mads.
Yeah, I think on a local level, it's really important for people to be engaging in mutual aid and person to person, like helping. So like not even just relying on corporations or things like that. I think for Plan, it's really important for people to be signing petitions and doing things that they can. It seems like it's not a major, they're not making a major difference, but it really is so important for these movements for participation. And so on the national level, it really is significant for governments to be listening to us and taking into consideration what we're saying. And not just, again, not just relying on corporations, but listening to real people and their real problems and what we have to say as young people. And on an international level, I think, on an international level, I think it's very important for countries to remember that they are, global citizens, and we all are living on this world. There's only one. and for aspects like climate change, for everyone to be taking action and to be, prioritizing the knowledge of Indigenous people. And yeah, sorry, just quickly, back to the local thing. I think it's really important for us to be empowering each other and, with kindness as well. I think as a queer person, and I think, for people of marginalized identities, queer people, trans people, and, Black people, Indigenous people, people of color, it's so important to elevate voices of people of marginalized identities, and when these identities intersect, in order to really create, a positive foundation in order to make real change in the long run, and help each other, and not be isolated from each other. But yeah.
Good points. Thank you. Next, can we have Varsha?
Yeah, so Plan is actually quite international. We have kind of a haze here and in the States and in Southeast Asia as well. So I suppose the support that we would need would have to be global to really create like a cohesion in terms of these things impact all young girls and all young women, particularly in our recent report of Freedom Online, which was completely about how young girls and women face harassment throughout their use of normal social medias. It's a very universal thing. I suppose we need the support of politicians who don't play it too safe, people who will enact change, who will create hard decisions regardless if that means they will not be elected again, who create like proper standing decisions which prioritize the future. And the support that we would need on a local level is the diverse voices that come from these issues, and people such as us who aren't afraid to share what is occurring and to speak up and to really bring home these issues which impact us. And the more people that who are diverse talk about their the inequalities that they face, the more that people will pay attention to the change that has to be made.
Yeah, so I guess from my perspective, the climate crisis is a global crisis, and so that means we need global collaboration and from every single country. It's not enough for just some communities and countries to take sufficient action. It requires all of us, and that means all cards need to be put onto the table, and everyone has to commit to significant change. But of course, the nations and the world is just made up of individual people who are part of communities, and so community level pressure on politicians and councils is really important. And also that individuals remember that they have the ability to vote, and that's something really powerful. And they should take that opportunity really seriously to make change. And because the climate crisis is such an enormous issue that's requiring change in basically all aspects of society, it can seem really daunting to an individual. And so that's why I think collaboration and community levels is really important because we're stronger when we compile our resources all together. So yeah, I really think it requires awareness on all levels, local, national and international, to get the change that we need. And it's going to impact back on all of those levels as well.
Elizabeth?
Yeah, I think particularly in the NGO, INGO space, there can be a sort of like, this is our sector, we're doing this work, we're the change makers in this space. But it's looking at organizations that do the same work and getting them together in the room. I know Plant's had some fantastic collaborations with Save the Children, World Vision, Child Fund, those sorts of things where you've got organizations doing the same work actually coming together and creating really powerful alliances. And you can see that in different sectors, whether it's period poverty, whether you're looking at sexual and reproductive health and rights in the climate change sector. There are lots of organizations kind of doing the same work. And then if you pull them together, even in conversations like this, getting people together who wouldn't normally kind of meet because they're from different sectors, getting them together to work towards a common cause. With the Sustainable Development Goals, there are a set of them and they overlap and they intertwine. You can't get gender equality unless you've got, access to clean and safe water and you've got access to healthy food. And you can't have any of that if our planet's on fire. So all these people need to be working together and solving problems in collaborative ways.
Thank you. William, would you like to go next?
Perfect. Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, okay. Yes, I have heard that we are talking about climate and all that's related to the climate crisis and the climate change, and how can we be closer to this goal that is such an important thing right now. And I believe that one of the most pressing things that we have to take in account is doing something to encourage those countries that are not working towards the finding of a better climate condition. In my case, Venezuela is one country that right now is denying all that's related to climate crisis and the climate changes that need to be made. And everything that's related to the environment right now, my country is not doing anything to stop these things, but it is doing things that are making it worse, I believe. Right now, in the last few weeks, there has been many oil spills in the Caribbean coast that are coming from Venezuela. In this moment, particularly right now, there is a huge boat, a huge ship that is between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela. Right now, it is in Venezuelan coasts that is almost going down. It's almost sinking, and no one is doing nothing in my country to stop this. They are denying it. I'm going to guess to be the cause of an ecocide, I believe we call this. So I believe that something that is important for us is not only exiging and demanding our governors, our countries to do something, but demanding them to do something about the other countries. Because I know that we, in all these things that we believe and we respect diplomacy, but we also have to know when we have to raise our voices and talk to countries like Venezuela and demand them internationally that you need to be doing something else. And not only Venezuela, but many other countries that right now are in denial of the climate crisis and are some of the principal of the main countries that are polluting and that are getting our planet away from this objective. So I believe our goal needs to be doing something about this, knowing that it's happening and finding a way of, if we're not going to make them do something, but we're going to let the world know that this is the situation that is happening, so the pressure is going to be bigger for them. I believe it's something we could be doing, and it's necessary.
Thank you. Kenan, would you like to answer the question? What kind of support do you see that's needed on the local, national, global level for the work that you're doing?
Okay. Well, everyone in here delivers exceptional remarks, and climate change and also gender equality. But I'd like to uh, bring you back to my issue that I've been stressing about for almost 1 hours about digital transformation. So I should say that collaboration is needed now more than ever, um, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. One thing is sure that to make significant progress in tackling the new normal, there is a need for close collaboration at the national and international levels. In time of crisis, we need cohesion and clear direction, which will provide better results with greater efficiency. Within our political system, such cohesion is required at all levels, national, regional, and local. Um, we simply cannot allow a withdrawal into a Hobbesian world of aggressive competition among states for commercial gain. Um, Now, when the global population is so large and interconnected, and not when life-saving breakthroughs are needed in many places at once, no more than ever in the international level, there is a need to promote openness to access to data, to outcomes of research, and to research infrastructure as well. Um, in here, our strategic priority is mobilizing communities to undertake sustained efforts to eliminate the digital divide and strengthen local coordination to build more robust pathways into living wage careers, fostering an inclusive, high skills, and decent wage economy for all. Um, Speaking of my country as an archipelago, Indonesia faces a different set of challenge. The state plays an essential role in, and among other things, developing the laws and regulations that guide technical action. It is required incorporating various levels of participation. Um, in the whole of society literature, specifically argues that no single organization has the knowledge or capacity to alone manage complex problems in a complex environment, just like in Indonesia. In our current project, together we are providing guidance for partnership development, developing empirically based guides for state and local leaders, and we believe that only through collaboration with local actors can we can get a clearer picture of local conditions we reach. Furthermore, it is through cooperation with local actors that the best results can achieve. We also expect that community leaders are expected to help implement local government policies while advocating on behalf of the public, making recommendation to local government on how to improve neighborhood conditions. And also, I believe that the leader fosters community trust through daily engagement, often via organized local activities. And also, we are believe that daily engagement also provides the opportunity to convey important message, educate local residents, and engage them in initiative. And I think those are the best we can do right now to achieve the digital prosperity. Lauren.
Thank you for that. Okay, Nancy, we'll hear from you next.
Okay, thank you so much, Lauren. I'd like to agree with what my fellow panelists just said. Now more than ever, the world needs cooperation and collaboration across sectors, borders. We need to work as a collective force. And as far as my work is concerned, I believe that at local level, we need collaboration with stakeholders, different stakeholders, for example, within the school system, so as to include me in their work plan as I plan to engage more young people and also the local leaders. And at national level, I think we need more support from the government with more favorable policies, like for instance the national sexuality guidelines, which support our work in sexual reproductive health and rights. I think we also need multi-sectoral approach, different sectors coming in and working together to create more employment for the young people, and also to for good service delivery. Like a private sector might be doing very well in a certain field more than a public sector. So when they combine their efforts, it will really help in achieving the global goal. Then at international level, we need collaboration between international organizations. Like I mentioned earlier, as part of the Youth Contact Champion, we are working as a global team of youth leaders from different countries, and the project is coordinated by different organizations, Action Aid and Restless Development, with support from UN Major Group for Children and Youth, as well as other compact organizations. And they are still calling in for more organizations to join in the program. So we need such kind of collaborations and cooperation to achieve the global goal. Thank you so much, Laura.
And Bella?
I think what we need to do at a local level is we need to empower these local communities and get them involved as much as possible, because it's their local communities that are going to have the biggest impact, and getting them involved as much as possible with other local communities and build a network from there. And then on a national level, we need to get policies and structures in place to keep people safe from these big threats like climate change and things, and make sure that vulnerable people are kept safe using these policies and things. And then at an international level, we need to remember that we're all global citizens and we're at one team, and that we're all living on this one planet, so we all need to work together to create the change that we want.
Thank you, Bella. And this is our final question that I'll pose to our panelists for this evening. So here at the Community Enrichment Project, we focus our mission on working with underserved, disenfranchised youth. And what we see with this particular group of young people, and with young people all around the world, a lot of them are dismayed and dissatisfied and apathetic about the things that they see in their local environments and the things that they see in the news. Could each of you just share a quick word of wisdom or advice you would give them to encourage them to be the change that they want to see, encourage them to understand that although things can seem quite negative and bad at any given time, that doesn't mean that they need to give up. So what kind of words of wisdom or advice could you give in 30 to 60 seconds? We can start with you, Mads.
I definitely understand being disillusioned and feeling like you're just one small person on this earth. But I think my advice would be, taking that fury you have at governments and power holders who aren't serving your interests, taking that and using it for the better, and combining it with the love you have for the people you care about and for your community and for nature and things like that. Take both of those things, and because your voice is so important, especially if you are someone of a marginalized identity. You need your voice, and it might seem like there's not much you can do, but there are so many different ways that you can participate in creating a change. But yeah, take that frustration and use it for the better, I think.
Thank you. Next, Barsha.
The words of advice I would have is kind of see the things that you disagree with as an opportunity to learn and to challenge. We can't really stop trying to learn in all different parts of where we are and where we work, and that's really important when you're constantly faced with people or establishments who disagree with you, you have to take it as an opportunity to broaden them and broaden yourself, kind of challenge what you know, what your friends know, what your parents know, and don't stop that at any cost.
Thank you. Hey, Patsy, can we have you next?
Yeah, I also agree with what the others have said about that. It's super easy to feel that you're just one small person and that the problems in the world are so huge, and how could you as an individual change that? And so I think that's why it's really important to find other people who have the same sort of worldview and have identified the same issues in the world as you have, because it's extremely helpful when you are feeling kind of demotivated and that the issue is too big, to find other people that you can pull resources that you can collaborate with. And yeah, I guess strength in numbers is just something really important for your own individual mental health, and so that you can really tackle the challenges in a effective sort of way.
Absolutely, thank you. Kinara, you want to go next?
No one is born hating another person because of the color of their skin, their background, or their religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. So it comes from ourselves first. Non-stop uncertainty and change are the new normal, from disruptive new technologies to breakout businesses. Turbulence abounds. And the most effective way to manage change successfully is to create it. This requires seeing change as an opportunity, not a threat. And as Patsy says, about we are uh, often feel small in this very huge planet. And I'd like to address and learn a notion from my professor. It started from a small step. You may create something huge in the future, Lauren.
Thank you. William, can you go next? I'm not sure if William is frozen, so we'll go on to Elizabeth.
Yeah, I think I see a lot of young people that go, oh, I'm not qualified. Or like Belle said, I'm only 14. And your lived experience is enough. You don't need to be qualified. You don't need to wait till you've finished your degree to be able to make change in the spaces that you want to engage in. You can start that now, whether it's interning, whether it's volunteering, whether it's just connecting on social media with people that are interested in the same things that you are. You can start now, and any little step is enough.
Thank you. Okay, William, do we have you?
Okay. Okay. Well, in my opinion, I believe that the thing that I could say for them to believe that something can be different is that you don't have to be thrown back by all the bad that is happening, but you need to see the potential that you have.
Okay, I think he may have dropped out again. So let's see, who do we have next? Bella?
I think the advice that I'd give is that you're not alone. We're all one global team trying to bring about change and be powerful, and that we're all connected from all corners of the world, and like we're all working together. So even if you feel like there's no one else out there, there are hundreds of people out there doing the same thing and fighting the same cause. And you know, if you're strong enough to step out and voice your opinions, we'll be definitely backing you the whole time. And if you feel like you're not enough as one person, like Elizabeth was saying, you know, just remember that there are so many people who made change by being that one person, like Gandhi and Greta, who started a whole movement built on peace, and they're now more powerful than ever. So one person can make the ripples across the world and bring about the greatest change. And, you know, what about if you could be that one person that started the change?
Thank you. Okay, William, I'm going to let you close out with the last answer for this question.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry for technical problems. I set up. What I wanted to say is that you need to believe that the things that you do can change people's life, and you can save someone by saying just a simple thing. In the right moment, you can save someone's life, and if you believe this, you can multiply this for many people. So you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you are important, and you have the power to make things.
I think we're losing William a little bit, but I think we heard the gist of what he had to say and what all of you have been saying. Essentially, it just takes one person to start a movement, and don't be discouraged if things don't seem as if they are working out perfectly in your favor. Just don't give up hope. And so that's part of why we're here today having this conversation. We just want to encourage young people to continue to work hard, advocate for things that they believe in, keep fighting, don't back down. It's no reason for any of us to feel as if we are the change that will happen later on in our future. The future is now, so let's take advantage of it. So I just want to end here and thank each of you for joining us today and speaking on this panel of Wonder International Advocates. I know that you guys are going to go on and do amazing things, so I'm really honored to be connected with all of you and for all of you to be connected with each other. So a huge thank you for your participation. Thank you to everyone who has joined us in the audience to learn from our speakers and hear more about all of the great work that they're doing. And I just can't wait to see what work you all do within the next 25 years, and maybe we can chat again for the 100th anniversary of the United Nations. But until then, keep up the great work and stay safe. And thank you.
Thank you for having us.